Hello and welcome to the Yoga in Black podcast, where I have conversations with Black yoga and wellness leaders from across the country. My name is Tierney McDowell, and I too am a yoga instructor and the creator and host of this show. Each week, I'm joined by Black yoga instructors, meditation instructors, or holistic wellness professionals to have a conversation about anything under the sun and the moon. We'll talk about a large variety of topics with the intention for you as listeners to get to know us, get a feel for the vibes, and find your next yoga instructor if you're in search of someone to learn from. All episodes of the podcast are pre recorded, so if we talk about something that happened a while ago, bear with us. We're doing the best we can with the time that we got. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the show. All right. Hello and welcome back to the Yoga in Black podcast. My name is Tierney McDowell, and I am always super excited to be here with y'all and extremely excited to reintroduce you all to Helsa Thompson. Elsa's been a part of this whole thing since about a year and a half ago. We did an interview on the Instagram live version of this, and I am so excited to have you back to give us a little update on what you've been up to. So go ahead, tell us about who you are, where you're from, what you do, what you've been up to, anything that comes to mind.
Awesome, awesome. Well, glad to be back in community with you. And so I'm Elsa Thompson of the Aura House. And so at the time that we talked, I was just launching the rebrand of the Aura House. And it's been an amazing, amazing year and a half of not just with the rebrand, but just like expanding my impact and expanding the community that I've built with the Aura House. And so basically, what I try to do is create spaces, safe spaces for people of color to tap into their physical and emotional healing through yoga, meditation, Reiki, sound therapy, life coaching. And I've been able to just be consistent even through the pandemic and all of the things that's been happening the past year and a half, been able to be consistent and just having touch points of just creating space for people. So I launched a series called Soulful Sundays at Sanctum Med and Wellness, which is just the first Sunday of the month, just tapping into healing through movement and sound. I've done a lot of different partnerships over the past year and a half because it's really important for me to align myself with like-minded people, specifically women of color. And so I do seek out those types of partnerships so we can create those spaces for healing for us. And I think the big news is that I'm in the process, fingers crossed, by the end of the week, I will have a contract for my physical location for the Aura House. And so excited to have my own space, to bring people together in different ways, to build community, to connect. And so excited to have that. And so a couple of more days, we're just working out a lot of the details, but excited for that.
That is so exciting. I just got goosebumps. Oh my gosh. Congratulations. That
Thank
is
you.
big. Oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait to see it all. Cause yeah, when we last talked, you were going through the rebrand and everything that you were talking about just was so empowering. And it's just awesome to see what a year and a half has done.
It's yes. And I think for me, in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, I want a yoga studio. Yeah, I want my own space. But I kind of like pushed it to the back, but it kept resurfacing and it kept coming up and it kept coming up. And I think for me, what made me finally say, okay, Elsa, let's do it, it's because when I have talked to so many people, they have said that the, I guess, like chain yoga spaces don't feel welcoming. There's
Mhm.
microaggressions that I'm dealing with. I
Yes.
don't feel seen. I don't see people who look like me. And so when they've come, to my workshops or my classes, they're like, this is what I'm looking for. I feel safe. I feel seen. I don't feel like I need to have a guard up. I can truly be vulnerable in this space. And for me, I was just like, I want to do this more. I want to do this more. And I want to create a physical space where I don't have to pop around and like create that space in other spaces, but like, let's create like one location that not only I can host things, but other people can come in, have classes, have workshops. But we all know that this is a safe space where people can feel seen, they can feel vulnerable, and we don't have to do any harm. Because unfortunately, sometimes in this wellness space, you're going there to get healing, but you end up, you know, you're dealing with microaggressions, you're dealing with other things that are causing more harm. And that's something that I wanted to guard against. And so I finally was like, you know what? Let's just do it. And definitely excited about this next chapter of the Aura House.
Oh man, that is you hit so many great points because I worked for one of those yoga chains and it was not good. It was
Hmm.
not good. So this is great because we really do need a lot more safe spaces in the community, and this will be in the Dallas area.
Yes, it will be. It'll be in the Dallas area. And I think it'll be in the Cedar Hill area, um, which we don't have as many yoga spaces south
Yeah.
of Dallas. So excited to just kind of create that as well. A lot of people like, oh, I have to go up north to find yoga or a little further out. And so hopefully this will be accessible for people. But also it's important for me to bring this to a community that I'm a part of as well. And so I want to make sure that I'm making things accessible to people who like I engage with and I interact with on a daily basis.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh. And what's the timeline looking like?
Oh gosh. So, like I said, this week, hopefully everything's signed, sealed, delivered, but probably top of the year in January. So I have to do a book build out and things of that nature over the next couple of months, but hopefully top of 2023.
That is awesome. That's gonna be a happy new year. Oh my goodness. That is I'm just over here beaming because I love when that happens because I get asked that question sometimes too. When are you opening a space? And I just haven't been called to do that. I'm very much a fly by the seat of my pants type of person, and I do like to move around. So, but I love to move around to spaces that are safe. So
Mhm.
knowing that there's going to be another one out there is just going to be fantastic, and I'm definitely going to reach out to you to host some things because
Awesome. Can't wait.
that's going to be so awesome. Oh my goodness. Now I'm totally derailed because I was not expecting you to say that.
That's
That
actually
is
my first time saying it out loud to people outside of like my very small circle. Um, because I've just kind of like, I don't want to say anything until everything's finalized. And so I'm
yeah.
just keeping it quiet, but it's happening and it's real. And so it feels good to put it out there, but also a little scary. But I have an amazing community. And most importantly, I feel pulled to do it. And no matter how much I'm like, nope, it's not the right time. I kept being called. And so it's important for me to like listen to that and to walk into my purpose. And so I'm fully stepping out on faith and just doing it because I am being pulled to do it. And so I can no longer ignore it. And so me saying it out loud for the first time, I'm like, oh shit, it's really real. Like
It's
it's happening.
real. That is amazing. I'm so happy, proud, and just in awe. Like that is fantastic. I Anybody that opens up a physical space, I have nothing but the utmost respect because I know how much work it takes. I know how much happens in the background, and it's a lot, and it's a big undertaking, especially with a family and working all these other things too, still trying to provide for yourself and your family, and then add this on top of it is a lot. So I commend you 100% because whew,
I will
whew.
say, sometimes I'm like, you're really about to add something this large to your plate. But the Aura House for me, honestly, I feel like it's kind of saved my life in a way. Because being a mom, and I had a baby during the pandemic. And with having a baby during the pandemic, I went through a lot of stuff emotionally, a lot of isolation because I was like literally alone, giving birth and all of those things. But also just, life just shut down and things were so different for us and trying to still support my family, support my mental and emotional health. And then I felt a huge disconnect from my body as well after my third child. And so for me, reconnecting back to my yoga practice, my meditation practice, and also holding space for other people. actually brought a lot of light to my life. And so, even though, yes, it's going to be a large undertaking, I truly feel it's going to make me a better mom because I'm able to do and make what fills my cup. And so I'm looking forward to the impacts that it is going to have, not just in my community and like the people that I'm holding space for, but honestly, what it's going to do for me to fill my cup up so then I can be a better mother, I can be a better wife, I can just feel more fulfilled. So even though it's a big undertaking, I truly believe that this is going to have so many positive benefits for every aspect of my life.
Oh my goodness. So much so. And I wanted to circle back to what you had said about how teaching brought you back. I don't think a lot of people understand how that works because teaching yoga is just as much a part of the practice as the practice itself.
Mhm.
And we get so much from being instructors.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, and I don't know I don't want to speak for everyone, but it seems to be a running, consensus that as soon as you finish a class, it's just the most blissful thing
You're
in
on a
the
high.
world.
High after you teach. It's like
Yes.
you feed off the energy, you feed off of the class, you feel no, it's a beautiful feeling. And so yes, teaching and holding space does like it is a job and it does, it takes skill to do that appropriately. But as soon as I'm done, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so fulfilled and I'm on like this high and
Yes.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And it's really a practice of getting into the samadhi. Finding that
Mhm.
that release from all the suffering, getting into the bliss. It's a real culmination of the practice in that moment, and you're getting to share that in a different way with the people that are in your space with you. And I wish more people would get that experience too, because it's almost like the whole, all eight limbs coming full circle.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But
I
it's
know
really a part of embodying the practice too.
definitely. I know one thing though, it's like as a yoga instructor, you still have to find time for your personal practice because sometimes your personal practice takes a hit. I
Mm-hmm.
teaching as well. And so, I think like finding that balance for me has also been extremely important of like I love holding space for others, but I also have to be poured into. And so trying to find people that can teach me and that I can learn from so I'm continuing to grow is also something that's extremely important for me.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm currently recovering from that burnout that
Mhm.
sometimes happens and that lack in my own personal practice, but I'm working on being better about sadhana, and it's so refreshing. It's something I've always been practicing at, because even before teaching full time, I was working full time in a corporate entity and teaching, a couple classes a week here and there for a couple years. And then things started to pick up a little more with the amount of classes that I was taking on. I'm like, okay, might I be able to do this as a career? Yes, cool. But as soon as I did that, my personal practice went out the window.
Yep.
And I could sense that it was affecting my teaching too. And I'm like, we can't let this happen again. And learn that lesson the hard way. But it's so important. Like that term that always happens is like always a student. That's
Mhm.
so true. You have to always be the student. Even when you're standing in front of a classroom, you're still learning at that same time too.
Exactly. And I
Multi
think
hats.
sometimes um people forget that, right? And so I know that there's been times that I go to studios, whether it's for yoga or for meditation, and the teacher begins to no longer be a student and they start to have like a guru mentality.
Yeah.
Um, and that's we can't lose sight of why of what brought us to yoga, and I think sometimes people have.
Yeah. The gurus are like there's an actual
Excuse
actual
me.
guru. No, you're all good. But
Yeah,
The
exactly.
age
There's
of the yeah, the age of the
actually,
guru was important because it's
yes,
what got us here.
100%.
But I feel like in our society, I don't think it's as important, um, because we still tie a lot of ego to it.
That's the issue. So let me correct that.
Yeah.
It's not that, like, yes, age of the guru extremely important for the role that it played to get us here. But
Mhm.
maybe I misspoke and say that the ego.
Oh, no,
You
you
know,
didn't at all. No.
but you like the ego, and I think sometimes like it's a combination of things that impact that. It could be from the teacher themselves and their ego, but also how students are portraying the teacher of like, I'm coming to you to get fulfilled. I'm like, no, you have
Mhm.
everything within you. I'm
Yes.
holding space for you to tap into that. I'm creating the container for you to tap into that. But I think sometimes people like go to whether you're a yoga teacher, a Reiki healer, sound therapist, whatever it is, and like, okay, I'm here, fix me, or and I'm
Yes.
like, no. And so I am very cautious of not using the word healer when describing myself. I do not do
Mhm.
that at all. I create the conditions for healing to take place. And I feel that we are all empowered to heal ourselves when we tap into certain things mentally and emotionally. But I think that's an important distinction that I'm very cognizant of because I don't want people to ever say like, "Oh, Elsa, I want to do a Reiki session with you so then like fix all my problem." Like that's not how this is going to work. You
Yeah.
know. And so I do think that is important, but I do think definitely in Western culture sometimes that ego can get attached,
Mhm.
and so people, and that for me was really important and who I sought out to learn from. I'm like, okay, this is not the dynamic that I want. I want to make sure that I'm aligning myself as I'm continuing to learn and grow with people who are truly embodying what yoga actually means.
Yes. No, I prefer the term guide.
Love it.
I'm adopting that, more lately, is that I'm a yoga guide rather than yoga instructor or teacher, even though yes, teacher is definitely still a, not a decent, but an acceptable term because folks don't know what this stuff means. We're the
Exactly.
ones that did all the training for it. So of course we're teaching them. But I also understand that the practice itself, people come for those reasons. Fix me. Like
Yeah,
I can't do that, but I can guide you through how you can figure it out for yourself.
exactly.
Because I am thank you for thinking that I have that capability, but I ain't got
And
it.
I'm still trying to figure out my own path, figure out all my
Exactly.
stuff, and working through that. And so, no, I think guide's a wonderful term, and so I'm gonna take that from you.
Absolutely. I've took it from my who I'm getting my 300 hour from right now. So by all means, glean whatever you need. Ah, my goodness. So tell me a little bit more about what's been going on with the Aura House and all of the things you did kind of briefly mention the things that you offer, but I want to know a little bit more what the experience would actually feel like if I were to step into your space.
Got it. So the Aura House itself really focuses on prioritizing our first house, our mind and body. So it's truly about everyone's individual practice. So I try to create experiences where they're extremely accessible. So when it comes to even the language that I use, when it comes to different modifications or accommodations that I provide in the class as well. So I'm able to meet people exactly where they are, physically, emotionally. Um, and I think that's important because sometimes people could either had a bad experience in a yoga studio, or they're like, "Oh, I've tried meditation, it doesn't work." I'm like, "Okay, let's talk about it." So I try to create different avenues to meet people where they are. So it's a very inclusive space. So that's one thing you can definitely experience. But it definitely has a whole bunch of Elsa mixed in there as well. I try to set a vibe. When I say my playlist, top notch. So music for me really drives the experience. So definitely my yoga classes, I create the playlist first because I set the tone of what I want the experience to feel like. And then I come up with the actual flow of the class. I also try to hit the different senses. So I have signature scents that I'm using throughout class to evoke different emotions and things of that nature. So it's a full, like all encompassing experience. So your senses will be tintillated, you'll move. I'll also do sound as a way to drop people into a meditative state to end the class that way. So you kind of get a little bit of everything, but the biggest thing that I like to say that differentiates me from maybe some of my experiences was that it's accessible. And that was extremely important to me. I wanted to create the spaces that I was yearning for. So as a yoga student, I would want certain things. I'm like, I can't find it. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just create it. And so that's kind of what I did. So when it comes to like the vibe, I even heard people giving me feedback say, oh, you have like, you do yoga for Black girls. And I'm like, I don't know exactly what that means, but if I had to guess, it comes to like the music. Like you don't have to be quiet in the class. If you want to talk, if the emotion comes up, we're building
Yes.
community, we're connecting. So it's definitely like a communal feel where everyone can feel seen and valued, and you're able to tap into a sense of relaxation or reflection through multiple modalities.
We have a lot in common in our teaching styles. I love that. Because as soon as you started talking about it, I'm like, I do that too. I know that too. I love when that happens. I really do. Because people don't understand how much it takes to really create the space.
Yes, it takes a lot. And I think I also try to provide different avenues, right? And so I might have one class that's like vinyasa. I'm going to have another experience that's more restorative and like with meditation. But then I'm
Hmm.
also certified in booty yoga. So if you want music and some more up tempo and you want to move and shake it out, we can do that too. So I think for me, it was important for me to have like a menu of different things that people can experience. I never want them to think that yoga or healing looks one way. It looks
Hmm.
however you need it to be. And so
Yeah.
if you try one class with me, you're like, actually, that was I want to be more still. I want to connect more to my breath. Okay, then you should probably try this type of class. I want people to find what works for them. And so once again, I create the container and give them the tools, but then they can decide what road they want to take that feels good for them.
Yes, that is beautiful. Um, you had mentioned accessible yoga, and are you also noticing it being a trend right now?
100%. And it's kind of funny because my actual, like, I guess, job. um, so my 9 to 5, I'll say that I'm the head of diversity for an ed tech company, and I've been doing DEI work for the past 15 plus years. So for me, this is my life, like create like accessibility, diversity, equity, inclusion. That's been my life's work for the past 15 years. And so it does feel really trendy right now. And so for someone who's been doing this work for years, I'm like, okay. Uh, it does feel like a little trendy, and from the yoga aspect, from corporate aspect, I think the political and social climate is pushing people to do it. It's
Mhm.
important that people are not performative when they do
Yeah.
it. And so right now I do see a lot of like, inclusive yoga or trauma informed yoga, but I'm like, are you really? And
Yeah.
that's what's important to me. Like, just because it's the hot topic right now, is that why you're branding things a certain way? Or are you doing that? Because in reality, if you're truly living out the different limbs of yoga, that should be your practice anyway,
All the time.
all the time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a weird place to be, because I appreciate that it is trending because it definitely needed to shift, but
Yes.
I worry about if it'll shift back, because that's just the way trends work. Is something seems really, cool and spicy right now, and then later something else happens where it might shift back, and I worry. I'm like, can we just slowly make this the norm instead of everyone flooding to all of this?
Next thing
Like, yes, it needs to happen, and it should have happened a
should
long
have
time ago,
happened.
should have always been the norm. But with it being so much of a fad right now, it's worrisome for me to think. I hope, or at least I hope that it doesn't backtrack any way or shape or form,
Because who knows what the next trend is going to be, and then people run to that.
that
I,
part.
I guess my concern is that if people are doing it with fidelity,
Yeah.
are you committing to not just because you have this additional certification that's now trauma informed, but are you truly thinking through like the language that you use, the
Hmm.
accessibility? Um, are you truly doing the work to also interrogate any biases or anything in your subconscious that might be impacting? Because it's not just getting the
Yes.
certification, it's actually doing the internal work, because we all have things in our subconscious. We all have things that impact how we see the world. Are you willing to undo some of that to truly create the space necessary to be trauma informed, to create an inclusive classroom? And so I'm hoping people are doing the individual work necessary to truly create those types of spaces.
Yeah, because it's obvious when you don't.
Mm,
Like, yeah, you know all the right words to say, but it's something in the expression of the words.
mm,
Like, it doesn't feel as genuine. Like, do you actually care about the fact that you're giving an option for this posture, or, using more inclusive language, whether it's racial inclusivity or gender inclusivity? Like, do you agree with any of what is being said out of your mouth just because it's part of your quote unquote job? Or
mm.
is this how you live? And
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right. It is extremely a huge part of that internal work is to embody it before you put it out there. But it's a weird place to be. I'm glad that it's changing, but I'm hoping that it just stays this way and doesn't shift into something else weird. Because I swear, I thought we were over goat yoga and we're, stuff like that. And then it's like, it's still happening.
I've
What?
never done goat yoga. But
Meaning,
there's certain
I won't
trends
set
I'm
foot.
like, nah, I'm not doing
No,
it.
I'm sorry. Like I think the biggest stretch that I have for myself as far as instruction was I taught a wine and yoga class.
Mm-hmm.
And I assumed that it was we do the yoga, we have like a happy hour kind of thing afterwards. No, they were drinking on the mat. And I'm like,
Okay.
I'm
That's a
not
little,
doing this again because that was not what I thought this was. And
I'm all for
absolutely not.
do the practice, and then after, if we're mixing and
Yeah,
mingling, 100%. Yeah.
100% that. But I'm no, 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 no. Like
First of all, that
this
doesn't that just doesn't feel safe.
at
I don't.
all. At all. Like I literally had to modify the class to the point where I'm like, we're absolutely not doing anything where your head is below your hips. Because like, what? Or trying to balance on one foot. Nope. Mm-mm. We're staying on 2 feet or all fours. Like, no. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was hoping that we were edging away from that. And I feel like it's happening, but I still see them things pop up and it's like,
It's definitely a culture of awareness that is happening across the board, that I think our current, I think like the past couple of years, the social and political climate has like pushed us there. But I do hear you that, are we going to stay in this state of like constant awareness, or is something else major going to happen that's going to force us to shift in another direction?
yeah,
Um, and so it is important for, you know, yoga teachers or people in general to just continue to just investigate and like be mindful of like what's happening,
yeah.
and then we have to then model and continue to like stay on that right path even if the things around us are changing.
Mm-hmm. Because you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of this entire pandemic situation where at first everyone was hyper vigilant and, you know, all in community, taking care of each other, wearing your mask, taking all these precautions. And now just a year later, or I think, or has it been a year?
It's
It's
been
been a year, a little more than a year since we really opened things back up, but the mask thing and everything has been back and forth for the last year and a half, I think. But it's
mhm,
just like it went right back to the same old same. And it's like, what happened to that hypervigilance? What happened to that community care? What happened to we're all in this together? And that's
100.
what I fear with this accessible yoga trend. It's like, okay, great. We're all on this really awesome page to provide something that works for everyone. And then at some point I have that gross feeling that it's going to shift and it's like, please don't. Please don't.
Mhm.
I'm like, let's all be genuine about this. Oh my goodness. I think did we talk about Reiki last time because I'm really intrigued about it right now.
I don't think we did. I don't think we did last time.
Yes. Tell me about what your Reiki offerings are like.
So for me, it is important that, like I said, I meet people where they are. So what I actually start off with, I have people do a self-reflection, like a chakra diagnostic, just for them to kind of reflect on different periods of their life, just to get them in that space of identifying some of the moments in their life that are impacting current behaviors. So I have them
Mhm.
do like that particular chakra diagnostic first. Then we actually sit down and go through that together and identify how that could be impacting some of their behaviors, some of their energy. So it starts off first as a conversation. Then from there, I actually do the Reiki session itself. And so doing the Reiki session, focusing on some of the things that were highlighted, but also really connecting with their energy to see how it is in current day, in current moment. And so really focusing on that. And then, of course, clear all their energy through Reiki that way. I also like to incorporate vibrational sound therapy as in a part of my Reiki sessions. So, in addition to Reiki, using Himalayan bowls physically on the body to do vibrational sound therapy. So, that's just an additional way to clear out any blockages and things of that nature. And it also just induces a deep sense of relaxation as well.
Oh yeah.
So I incorporate that with my Reiki. And then I always end our sessions with a follow up that tells them how to continue on this path of balance. So based off the particular areas of imbalance or different things that came up in the Reiki session, I give them a personalized plan of action of things that they should be focusing on to stay in a more balanced state or things to be aware of moving forward. So whether that's certain journal prompts, affirmations to use, particular yoga poses that they should focus on, foods to eat, whatever it is, I personalize a plan. So that goes back to my philosophy of like, we all have that power as long as we're equipped with the tools. And so I feel it's my job to then provide as many tools as possible for people to then take advantage of their own healing.
I love that. So for those that don't know exactly what Reiki is, could you give a brief description of what it
Yes.
is? Yeah.
Yes. So, Reiki is where you're able to use energy to, well, I'm able to tap into a person's energy source and be able to see if there's any overactive, underactive, any particular blockages or any areas of their body where energy is being stored or trauma is being stored. And so I'm able to then, um, through Reiki, use my energy to help clear out particular areas where energy is blocked or to balance any areas that are overactive or underactive. And so I tend to focus on the seven primary chakras. If something through the session where there's like another part of the body that I should focus on, then I'll listen to that. But I definitely, for everyone, go through the seven major chakras and I clear out their energy and I balance them that way. And then based off that, I'm able to let them know, hey, there's a particular chakra that was really overactive. Here's something that you should consider. Or we can even dive in a little bit more. Sometimes people add on like coaching after a Reiki session to like, I don't know what's going on with my root chakra. You said X, Y, and Z came up. Can we talk about that? And so then we do one-on-one coaching sessions for them to then begin peeling those layers back to understand some of the root of the issue. And so that's a little bit. So just definitely using like the energy that's within our body and then focusing on clearing that energy.
Awesome. I love Reiki. I want to get certified in it. I'm in like two different certifications right now.
You're doing the most. Look at you.
I'm spread thin.
No, I think Reiki is great. I will say I don't do it unless I'm in a good space. That is very important. And so I'm very particular about when I take Reiki clients because I want to make sure that I am in a really good space to be able to conduct the Reiki session. Also, it can be taxing physically on me doing the Reiki as well, and so I don't do as much Reiki work, especially right now, juggling being a mom and all the things. Now that the boys are back in school, maybe I'll pick up some more clients for Reiki. But girl, during the summer, I was definitely driving those boys all over the city to their different activities. I was exhausted, so I'm looking up to pick up some more Reiki clients in the rest of this year, but definitely top of January.
Nice. And that actually lead me to my next question was how do you protect yourself and your energy when you're doing Reiki?
So there's different practices that you'll learn once you become certified in Reiki to help you clear your energy as well as like to protect yourself before actually doing your Reiki session. But I definitely try to before a Reiki session, drink a lot of water. I meditate before and after Reiki sessions, and then of course drink a lot of water after. But there are different clearing practices that are used to help keep us protected. Um, Sometimes there have been times where I've conducted Reiki on myself after a session. I'm like, okay, something's still here with me. Let me actually
Hmm.
clear out my own energy. And so conducting Reiki on myself. And like I shared with you before, it's important for me to be poured into. I have a Reiki practitioner that I go to myself. And I'm like, so I go to her for my work that I have to do. So I think it's a combination of different things.
And are these same things you do before um, yoga classes or any other practices that you instruct?
I would say I'm probably a little bit more particular with Reiki just because that's an exchange of energy. With
Hmm.
yoga, especially now, since I'm at other locations, I'm doing my different events. I get there early. I have to like get in mentally and emotionally get ready.
Yes.
Not in a space of like it's going to be difficult, but like I like to be fully present when I'm doing things, and so I get there to make sure anything I'm dealing with the boys or work or my husband, like that's gone and I can be fully present. So I get there and usually like I dance it out before a yoga class just to just to get in a good space. I'll dance it out. But in my daily practice, meditation is a huge part of my daily practice. Just as a way to keep me grounded. So whether I'm doing yoga, meditation, Reiki, or anything, that's something that meditation is what I started first before yoga. So that's been like a very key part of my personal practice.
Nice. Yeah, that is always a tip that I give for new instructors too. Like find something that centers you and allows you to take yourself out of whatever's going on outside of your class space so that you're fully present there.
Yep.
And it's also, a protective measure is because folks come in with their stuff, and if you're coming in with your stuff too, that's the room's too full now. Like you're not
100%.
you're not creating a safe enough space for everybody, so find something that works. So for me, it's meditation and handstands. like something about getting upside down helps shake some of that stuff off so that I'm ready to go. And I do the same thing afterwards, as I'll have a little brief meditation, get myself upside down, shake anything that may have tried to attach to me throughout the class off, and then move on about my business. But it I'd be drained without stuff like that.
100%. For me, it's like putting on some music and dancing it out. So that's like my way of just like releasing, just like letting it go. But that's definitely something that maybe I didn't realize was a way of becoming present in that space, but it definitely is a part of my routine before
Oh
I do
yeah.
my events. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, that's maybe that is how I clear myself. For me, it's just that has been my like my go-to. Like I said, meditation before, dancing before a class, and there's something about after a class cleaning up the space.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's something that's very therapeutic about that as well for me that I really enjoy. I don't want people to help. People are like, "Oh, I'll help." I'm like,
Yeah,
"No,
like nope, don't touch it.
Yep, I
I
got
got
it.
it.
So going through that process of like cleaning the space also feels really good for me.
Yes. And I mean, it ties into the fact that sweeping is a spiritual practice in
Mm.
itself. I mean, we, what is it? Hoodoo? Yeah. That's a thing. Like, so I think all of that's tied in, all of its energy being moved and shifted. So even the dancing, that's moving energy wherever you need it to move. And if it's just shaking it off, that's extra vibrations helping you shake that stuff off. And
Mhm.
like, and I love what you said about using the bowls during your sessions, because
Yes.
that's also just amplifying the vibrations and all that. So all of it are tools that you can use to move energy around. And I think it's beautiful. I think that's absolutely beautiful.
You're in the 300 hour right now?
I am,
How is
yes.
it going?
It's going good. We are entering our second to last month.
Okay.
And yeah, so we'll be done at the end of November. Yeah. But I
Nice.
also just got registered into a personal training certification program.
Okay.
So it's all self-paced for the most part, but I'm wanting to be done with the 300 hour when we are done with our live sessions, because I ain't got the time.
Yep.
Like I
You
got
a
stuff
lot.
to do. Yes. I mean, I'm grateful to be in it because it was something that's always been a dream of mine after finishing the initial 200.
Yeah.
All right, when am I going to do the 300? I need to do the 300. Like I want the 300 really badly. But, life happens
Yep.
and
Yep.
just had to ride the wave, and the wave finally crashed up on shore. So I'm like, okay,
I
let's do
would I did what I did want to share this with you. So the entire I think our very first conversation was around this particular yoga chain that you had an experience with.
ah.
Because I think I posted, like we were following each other and I posted something about the chain. And you're
Mhm.
like, "Oh, are you gonna start teaching there?" And I was like, "I'm thinking about it." And you were like, "Let me know how it goes." But I ended up, it just, I'm an energy person. I follow my gut, and so it just didn't feel right. So I didn't move forward with them.
Yeah.
It's crazy that that was our. I remember that being one of our first conversations, and then to see your YouTube, like I sat there and watched the whole thing, and I was just like, is that what I was feeling? Because I
Yeah.
definitely felt something that didn't sit right in my spirit for me to continue working with them. But I'm so glad that you are at a place where you were able to talk about it, but most importantly, to get out of that space and focus on you and do what's necessary for you. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so much for watching it. It was definitely tough because I had the same trepidations as you.
Mm,
I wasn't in a place to say no at that point because I needed the money.
yeah,
And it was one of those decisions that I made that I kind of wish I had taken more time to, really process my feelings and the energy that I was feeling, but I ended up really enjoying the job itself, but yeah, the
some of the people.
experience as a whole just no.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But yeah, just wanted to like now that I have you in front of me, just like say, thank
Yeah.
you for sharing your story. I really appreciate that. And unfortunately, that happens more often than not.
Yeah.
Um,
Because they're
and
definitely not the first place that I've experienced that stuff.
that's why
It was
I'm
a
so
higher concentration of it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I'm so particular about like who I partner with, where I work with. I'm so that's so important to me because
Hmm.
I love this practice. And if there's anything that's taking the love away from the practice, I don't want to be around it.
Exactly. And that, like, because I left there back in March,
Mm.
and I'm just now getting to a point of going back into a studio space to teach. I literally start tomorrow.
Congratulations,
And
with studio.
it's a summit climbing and yoga.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and I've just had a lot of trepidation going back into that space because I know that harm can be done
Yeah.
even in the most well-intentioned people.
Yep.
It still can happen, especially if they're not checking the biases that they have, or understanding what things that they've learned in the past and noticing that shit don't work today anymore. So check yourself before
Yep.
I check you and leave. Because I will do both. But it was hard to wrap my mind around that. But again, I'm in a place where it's like money is a
Yeah.
thorn in my side right now, and I gotta do something to make these bills get paid because I ain't got no sugar daddy. Man. But I'm hoping that the experience will be better. But I'm also noted or knowing that it's not a full or a long-term thing, and it's just a means to an end. And I think that was the difference with the last place, is that it felt a
Mhm.
little bit more long term. And I'm like, well,
You kind of just had to
I already
deal
know.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I already know this is a circumstantial thing. And once the circumstances change, so will I.
That's beautiful. Well, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank
And
you.
I need to come by one of your classes. That just needs to
Yes.
happen.
Same. I keep my issue with this and knowing so many of other instructors is that we all teach at the same time. Can't ever find any time to get to you guys. And
And I
it's,
know you did like a meetup. Not did you do? If I'm not mistaken, didn't you do like a meetup? Not
yeah.
long
I did a couple, what was that? Back in May, June, July?
ago?
No, May and April, May and June.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, but had to put that in a back seat for a second because of funds. like folks don't understand finding a space to do things in Dallas,
Yeah,
they want
that
to charge so
hence
much.
why I'm like, let me. I rather if I'm gonna keep paying people, I might as well have my own. So yes.
Thank you. And that's where like part of me was like, okay, maybe you do need to go that route. But I think I'm still a little ways away from wanting to do that. Mostly because I just don't know where I want my
Mhm.
roots to really grow and
Yep.
spread. Um, I like to transplant myself. So
I
so
got you.
I don't know if Dallas is the place that I'll end up doing that. It would be dope, but I don't know if this is the place for me. So
Got it.
I'm just waiting it out. So I'd rather support those like you that have the space and are, putting in that legwork and have us, build something symbiotic
Yeah.
because it's just not my time yet. And
Yeah.
I'm
When
okay with
Yeah, when
that.
if it's your time, you will know.
Oh
But I
yeah.
think you're definitely living into your gifts now, and like giving yoga, specifically Black yoga teachers, a platform to kind of share their story. I think it's so amazing. So
Yeah, because we all have so many unique and amazing stories to tell. Even though we have a lot of shared experiences, we all got to where we are by different means. And I think it deserves to be shared just as much as anybody else's story, because I like I had mentioned like way back in the beginning, I really just got sick of having a lot of white coworkers. Like, where's everybody else? Because I'm needing to get some more Black people in these spaces because we deserve it and folks need it. Like, aside from us needing our own safe spaces, we need to show people, or, we need to allow people, and not us, but just we
Mhm.
as a human populace need to diversify our communities as well so that we learn
100%.
how to live and coexist with each other because that's going to happen. It's
We are a multicultural
inevitable.
society, but we don't operate like one.
Exactly.
And so we're doing ourselves more harm by not diversifying all spaces for
Hmm.
that to take place. Plus, we're limiting our impact, we're limiting our success if you don't have
Yes.
diverse perspectives and experiences around the table. And so, yeah, like I said, beyond yoga, that's this is the world that is happening around us, and we need to be more aware of that and create the conditions where we can interact with people that are different from us and learn from people and grow. And yeah, and like I said, this is the work that I have been leading for different organizations for years, and it's crazy that I'm having the same conversations.
This many years later.
Yes.
And I don't know if it'll ever change to that, or at least drastically enough that you won't have job security.
I know, like, I feel real secure. Like, you can go on LinkedIn right now, and there's, like, a billion, like, diversity roles happening because that's, like, the thing.
Mhm.
Um, but it's work, and it's important for me to bring my expertise in that field to to the Aura House, to my yoga practice, to that, because it it is a lot of intentional work that I've had to do, and I've also had to work with different types of people. And so I think
Yes.
that's why I'm able to create inclusive spaces, because I I I have seen what happens when you don't create inclusive spaces, first off. I've
Mhm.
also had to I've also been in very unsafe spaces as a woman of color, but I've had to teach people how to interrogate their own biases and begin to like help them do the work. So I think that gives me a lens that I hope has been extremely beneficial for people who've experienced the Aura House. I do think that is a tool that I'm glad I have. So to our conversation earlier, for me, it's not like a fad. It's like my life's work to make sure people feel seen and valued,
Mhm.
um, and for people to feel included and see themselves in the practice. And so that's why, like, I want to bring other teachers who are different, so they can experience other types of yoga instructors as well,
Yes.
versus like, oh, it's just this is Elsa and this is what Elsa does. Like, no, like learn from Tyranny, learn from other people to see what works or see how other people approach things. I think that's beautiful. And so it's kind of like the Aura House is kind of like a bridge of like my work and like my passion for yoga kind of like put together. Um,
Man, I love to hear you speak. You're dynamic.
oh, thank you.
Yes. Um, I think we talked about this briefly last time, but are the kids still involved in the practice at all, or are they completely checked out?
Yeah. So the 2-year-old, he'll see me doing poses and he'll do them. He's not exactly sure what he's doing, but he'll do them. He's but with my 2-year-old, we have been doing a lot of breathing techniques with him. Like, so when he gets a little flustered, he's going through his terrible twos right now. So when he has his moment, I'm like, take a deep breath. So he's like practicing his little breathing techniques. My middle
Oh.
son likes doing yoga with me. And so he's probably going to be the yogi of the three because he likes doing it, and he likes like show me a harder pose. He wants to like do like challenging poses and stuff like that. I was like, okay.
All
So
right.
he's enjoying it. I think he's at a place now when I can start bringing other things besides asana into him. So he's also understands just the expansiveness of what yoga is.
Yeah.
My oldest, nah, he's not as invested in any of that. He's
Yeah.
more excited about like, mommy's getting a yoga studio. I think the business side, he's like
Oh,
excited about that. So maybe he'll run the yoga studio and my middle son teaches it, you know? So
look, that's creating generational wealth for your family right there, and that is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
yeah, I
Oh
will
my
say we did do one thing. It was a labor of love project with me and my two oldest boys. We created a mindfulness coloring book, an activity book for kids.
goodness.
So it's
How did
called
you leave that till now to tell me this? That
yes.
is so cool.
So it's called Color and Calm, and it's a combination of different affirmations, coloring activities that have different affirmations as well, breathing techniques, as well as I pulled motivational quotes from like kid movies and Disney movies in there, so they can see themselves in different characters. Like, oh, this character said this. Okay, what does that mean? Or how does this relate to what we're talking about with mindfulness? So no, that was kind of like our little labor of love project to kind of like do together. So they, help co-create it, help pick some of the activities, and it's things that I've done with them. And so we just created a little book to hopefully help keep the conversation going and make it accessible of like what mindfulness is for kids.
Oh, that is so cool. Where can we find it?
You can find it on Amazon. So Color and Calm, a mindfulness coloring book for kids. It's available on Amazon.
Oh, yes. I already know several different birthday presents I'm about to get for folks now.
Aw.
Yes. And I'm over here making note, like, all right, yep, grab that. Because I got a niece that turns 1 in October. My nephew just turned 5, but they're still like all my friends have kids. So oh yeah, you just made shopping so much easier for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Um, but I wanted to point out, you said you are working on breathing techniques with your 2-year-old. I think those are going to be so useful in his three-nager stage.
Yes, yes.
Whew.
I'm mentally preparing for it already. And then with the pandemic baby, which adds a whole nother layer of stuff.
Yeah.
These pandemic babies, Lord.
Look.
The 2020 baby. So, no, all the breathing techniques, all the mindfulness he can get, I'm trying to pour into him now to help him regulate all his big emotions.
Yes. I know I'm eager to see that progression with my niece because she was born in 2021, but I think at that point conceived in 2020. So I'm going to
Hmm.
still consider her a pandemic baby. And just the things that she has already done so far at 11 months, it's just like you've been here before.
They've definitely
Like
been here before.
you've been here before. And I know that's, I think we all have, I totally believe in that, energy is just transmuted and transferred.
Agreed.
But is there something about these little babies in the
I think
last couple years? It's like,
I think
what
they've
will
been
y'all
here
do?
before. I think they've been here before. And I'll speak for me. I think the stress and the emotional toll during the pandemic impacted him in utero.
Hmm.
And I think that probably did with a lot of like it was a scary time, especially
Yeah.
at the peak of things. Like no one knew what was going on. Like, what is this corona? Like, we didn't know what it was, what it did. And I think it was a lot of
Yes.
fear. And at the same time, 2 days before he was born, George Floyd was murdered. And so this is the
Man.
third black boy. And every time I was pregnant, unfortunately, there was a big like some type of murder, and it became like a social movement with all three
Yeah.
of my kids. I think that really impacted number three. And he's a little like he wants to take over the world and like fix stuff. So he's a little bit more
Oh yeah.
aggressive and like, I'm gonna handle it. Yeah. So I think he's here to take charge. And I'm like, babe, you're two. Like, just your time will come.
Look, Mr. President, I'll vote. I'll vote for him. I'll vote for him. Let's do it. Because if he's here to change the world, I
But
will ride by his side. Let's do it.
he's here with a mission. I just need, and once he's able to clearly articulate it, he's gonna be powerful. But these pandemic babies, I do think, their parent was dealing with a lot during this, and it was just like a
Yes.
weird time. But I think that's gonna be. I'm curious to see over the years if we research
Yeah.
and keep data on the pandemic generation of kids.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna change the world. I think they're coming in like
Full
I got a
steam
list of
ahead.
taking names. We're about to change some stuff.
Yeah, full steam ahead. Because like there's that um I don't want to say paradox, but you have on one hand anyone that was pregnant during that time got a little bit more rest than normal because most of us were at home. Like that's unprecedented for so many individuals that work through their entire pregnancy. And that's, commuting,
Hmm.
taking care of any other children that are in the house, taking care of any other spouses or other, adults in the house, taking care of yourself, taking care of all of this stuff at work, then having to go right back home. Um, a lot of that was taken away with, everyone, working from home for so long. But then you also add in the stress that this whole pandemic has brought in. And it's like that weird conundrum between I'm the most rested I've ever been, but I'm stressed like a mofo. How is
Yes,
this affecting this little human growing inside me? It's interesting to see where that will go in the next
mhm,
few years and how these kids will grow and develop, or at least a specific generation. Because
exactly.
I agree. I think that they'll be the first generation of humans that will live in a world where social justice is constantly talked about, and more and more people are witnessing where the world was and how it's still currently affecting us now, and they're seeing it and like, mm-mm, not doing that.
Doing that.
Not to mention us as the parents, we're like, we don't want our kids to be in this world continuing to experience these things.
We're having
So
different conversations now than we had
yeah.
years ago, which I think is a beautiful thing. And, we're setting the foundation for a lot of change to happen.
Hmm.
And I want to get back to like the whole pregnancy aspect. So with, like I said, with this extreme stress and you're balancing all the unknowns with the pandemic, for me, that's actually what launched me to get certified in prenatal yoga because I went through that pregnancy. I was, I was a yoga teacher. I was certified in yoga, but I didn't have the prenatal
Yeah,
certification.
that
So
niche.
that niche. After I had him, I was like, I have to get it because if I had someone to help me physically and emotionally feel supported during my pregnancy, that probably would have eliminated a lot of things that I was feeling. So for me, that was like the catalyst. Like my third child was the catalyst, like push me into getting that prenatal certification. Um, because I'm like, I know I'm not the only person, I know I'm not the only mom that was pregnant during this time feeling this way. If I
Mm-mm.
can use my passion for yoga, my experience as a, you know, mother of three, if I can use that then to now hold space for moms, I want to be able to do that. And so that's what pushed me to get certified in prenatal because it was a lot. And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
I wish I could have had someone to like call and lean on during that time to just help me figure, just deal with all the things that I was
Yeah.
feeling that I couldn't even name. And so excited now to have that a part of my practice and hopefully we'll be able to be that support for moms.
Oh yeah. It's extremely helpful. And I'm hoping that more get involved with it because I think the research that's out there now about um the use of prenatal yoga and how it impacts pregnancy, I've never heard anything bad. So it's like, let's get more folks involved because it just makes sense.
Just makes sense. And I think
Yeah.
especially for Black women with the maternal rates and how that impacts uh,
Hmm.
women of color disproportionately, and a lot of Black women going to a more natural route, getting a doula and things like
Yeah.
that. I'm like, well, let me do my little part in supporting it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
so let me, if so that was important for me because, like you said, it can't hurt.
Mm-mm.
It can't hurt. It can only help if you add that to your pregnancy. But also, I feel good knowing that I'm supporting moms, especially moms of color, when we see the data. We know what the reality could be, and
Yes.
it is scary, and it is
Very.
forcing us to take birthing into our own hands. And so I think that's a very beautiful movement that's happening of us just taking ownership of birthing because the data is so alarming and so unfortunate of how it impacts Black women.
So will prenatal be a larger part of what happens at your physical space?
Not necessarily a larger part. I think, prenatal is a difficult class to have consistently because,
Yeah.
you
You
know,
can't predict when folks are popping up pregnant.
yeah, and then when they have the baby, like now I gotta find more people. I gotta
Yeah.
find new students. So definitely if there's a need, I would 100% want to offer prenatal yoga. But I think what's been really successful with my prenatal practice or like more my one-on-ones and my privates. And so
Mhm.
people reaching out to me and then just having one-on-one sessions. So that's probably the route I would continue to take. But if we have a community of mamas all pregnant around the same time, I would love to see a room full of pregnant moms doing yoga and like, holding space for them to do prenatal yoga with them. But that tends to be more of a one-on-one practice just because that's a harder class to keep consistent.
It really is. That's something I think most studios struggle with.
Yep.
it's always awesome to have, but yeah, it's extremely unpredictable. Plus, it's a brief amount of time that a person would actually need the class. So for what, 10 months or so, they'll need the class, and then after
Mhm.
that, they're right back into, maybe a postnatal class, but usually folks just, kind of slow
Go back.
down, yeah, and then go into a more restorative practice or take their time back into vinyasa flow.
Mhm.
But no, I think that's awesome. So just to kind of wrap things up, tell me a little bit more about all of the things that will be offered at the physical Aura House.
Um, to be honest, I have some ideas. I haven't fleshed everything out because things honestly happen so quickly. It was like divine intervention. All the stars aligned. It was like, okay, this space is open, it's available, and like things just happen so quickly. I'm like, okay, this is really happening. Now what? But one thing that I am going to ensure happens is that I want to have, like I shared earlier, I want this to be a space for other people to also do classes, workshops, and different sessions and things of that nature. So I would like to partner with like-minded um, practitioners to come in and use the space as needed. I will definitely focus on curated experiences. So I'll have a handful of like signature classes that I do on a weekly basis for people to get consistent yoga practice. But my primary focus is going to be focused on like curated experiences that tap into physical, mental, and emotional health. So some of what I talked about earlier, so incorporating different modalities for a particular workshop or class, it's kind of what I'll be focusing on. So like signature offerings that you can only find at the Aura House that will tap into your senses, where we'll move, we'll do some sound, have really clear intentions, and just be in, once again, a community of healing. Um, and so that's where I am right now. But I also know there is a desire from some of my students of like, we want more like every day. Like we want something more consistent. So I need to like also just like balance that with like my schedule. It's the top of January 2023 is the plan to have like things clearly thought out, willing, ready to share with everyone. Um, and I'm just going to continue to just follow my purpose. So whatever comes up of what the Aura House needs to be, and once I'm clear about that, I'm just going to allow that to manifest. I don't want to have too many expectations of this is what it is, because right now I'm just like walking in my purpose, and every day is getting more clear, and so I'm just going to continue on that path.
I am so excited for you. If you're in need of any instructors that you want to add along on this ride with you, let me know. I've got a handful of folks that I can send your
Awesome.
way.
Would love it. Would love it. I would definitely be
Yes.
in conversation with you about that, and hopefully can have you out at the Aura House
Of
as well.
course. Of course, because I'm always looking for space to hold pop-ups, and I have a few workshops in mind, and I'm still debating on how virtual I want to make them. So I'll definitely be talking to you for sure, because
So
it's a lot of planning to have to happen in that, and I ain't got it right now. Well, Elsa, thank you so much for your time. If you want to let the people know where they can currently find you, until the house is officially open.
yeah, so right now the best place to find out all things Aura House related will be on Instagram at underscore the Aura, AURA house. That's where I post all of my events, class offerings, as well as I'm going to be documenting this journey of getting the Aura House up and running. And so hope you all can follow along.
Oh my goodness. You are just the biggest breath of fresh air. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me
No,
again.
no, I really appreciate you creating this space, and I need to get out to one of your classes soon. So if I just pop up and you see me in person,
Hey, hey.
don't act like you don't know me.
Oh no, you're getting the biggest hug. The biggest hug. Yes. And I'll be posting all those updates very soon once I know what the actual dates and times are.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in and listening. I'll catch you next week with another fantastic guest. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Yoga in Black podcast. Next week, I'll chat with Justin High. Every Tuesday, we're airing a new episode, so be sure to check back in next week on Spotify or check us out on YouTube. You can find us at www.yogainblack.net or the Yoga in Black podcast on YouTube or on Instagram at yoga.inblack. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next week.